Welcome to the 12th and final show in our first season of Touring Texas Songwriters with our host, the long, tall Texan, Mr. Bruno Michel. Today's show features native Texas singer-songwriter and storyteller Mack Abernathy and is brought to you by the Barrel Brewing Company and the citizens of historic Salado, Texas. Mack Abernathy was recorded live in front of a studio audience for broadcast on Country Radio Switzerland. Sit back, relax, and get ready to enjoy Mack Abernathy.
Welcome, Mack Abernathy.
Thank you for having me here.
For those who have no idea who that guy is, he started playing guitar and writing songs as a teenager, actually. And he went to Nashville. We're so glad he came back.
Yeah. Well, Johnny Gimble told me, he said, you need to follow me and Willie. He said, we're going home.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's where we went.
He had a couple Billboard charts hits, among them his version of Floyd Tillman's Slippin' Around. He toured 5 countries in Europe, playing 55 gigs, and so that was pretty.
That was fun.
Heavy tour, I guess.
Yeah, I was plenty glad to get home.
He's as a real cowboy as he can get, and he's also kind of famous for spreading his cowboy logic every now and then.
Well, now I'll tell you what. Let's be honest here. I rent this costume. I usually play in a hard metal band. See.
Exactly what
I don't know any other way to think. You are what you are.
Yeah, and, I would like to see that. You guys probably know Michael Martin Murphy's song where the cowboy logic question is basically asked when 3 guys alike sit in a truck, which is the real cowboy? It's the guy in the middle because he doesn't have to drive and he doesn't have to mess with the gates.
That's right, yeah.
That's how you live,
That's pretty much how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we'll start up with a song.
Okay. I'm not what you call a gifted songwriter. I can't just go sit down in the room and just knock one out, But I got to see something, hear something. But every now and then one just falls out of the air. It was just like it was your day. And so I have no idea how we wrote this song, but it's written, Como esta, senor? Have you seen Margarita? Partied here last night. You took her picture, right? Don't you remember us a little? Como esta, senor? You seen Margarita? Marge was the small one, Rita was the tall one. I was the fool in the middle. They saw the tourista sticker on the windshield of my car. They flagged me down, said they'd show me around. That's how we got to your bar. Tequila flowed like water. We partied into the night, and they seemed like such nice girls, so sweet and polite. But things got a little crazy, really out of hand. Marge dancing on the table, Rita flashing the band. They took the party to the patio, said they needed fresh air. When I woke up this morning, Marge and Rita weren't there, and neither was my billfold. Hell, I can't find my car. The last time I saw it was here at your bar. Como esta, senor? You seen Margarita? Partied here last night. You took her picture, right? Don't you remember us a little? Como esta, senor? You seen Margarita? Marge was the small one, Rita was the tall one. I was the fool in the middle. Well, I kind of lied about where that song came from. That was all I could write. My wife got tired of me talking about it, and she woke up one morning, she said, I couldn't sleep last night. And I finished that song, and it's on the kitchen table. And don't you change a word. And I said, okay. The senior just smiled and laughed under his breath. See, I remember you, gringo, just like all the rest. You crossed the border for fiesta. The senorita's so fine. But one thing importante you should keep in your mind. When you order the top shelf, that good old Patron, always remember, leave Margarita alone. Como está, senor? You seen Margarita? Partied here last night. You took her picture, right? Don't you remember us a little? Como está, senor? You seen Margarita? Marge was the small one, Rita was the tall one. I was the fool in the middle. There you go. Thank my wife, that thing being finished. Yeah.
Yeah, she wrote the good one, I guess. When you went to Nashville, did you ever think to come back to Texas, or were you thinking that you became one of these big hotshots up there?
No, I was really lucky when I went to Nashville. I had some friends, Johnny Gamble and Tom Brumley. And Tom had coached me before we ever went to Nashville and told me just about how things were, and don't stay too long if you get fed up with it. And I've got friends in Nashville. I have nothing but good things to say for Nashville, but it's just not Texas.
That's right.
I want to see the sun rise, and I want to see it go down. And I didn't like that, and that it gotten really away from country. And I got a friend in Fort Worth, Steve Murray, owns a bunch of stockyards and Billy Bob and stuff like that. And he told me, he said, yeah, what they doing over there now is just cheap Dallas rock and roll. And sure enough, that's about what it was, you know. And but my wife and I, when I was on that tour in Europe, we got wet a lot, especially in France. And the man I was with was a real innovator. And he said, you need to build you a stage trailer. And I thought, I'm going to build a stage trailer. You know, I'm famous. I don't have to do that. So we just finally decided we would. And in Nashville, unless you've just been there forever, you don't know who's who to deal with, you know. Right. And so we loaded up and we went back to Texas. Mm-hmm. I figured if it was good enough for Willie, it's good enough for me.
Absolutely. You actually wrote a song about that called Hell in Nashville, right?
Yeah, I did.
You want to play that?
Yeah, I'll play it for you.
Sure.
I'm not a political person. I don't get involved in your business. If you're not standing on my toe or bothering my wife, I don't care. But anyway, there was an interview with Blake Shelton over there, and this was before Ray Price died. And
the old fart thing, yeah.
And he called him. He said that him and little Jimmy Dickens were just like old jackasses, and they were holding up the music business.
Right.
Well, like I said, I'm not political. I don't get involved in this and that, you know. And
Dale Watson wrote one about that, too.
So I sat down and I wrote the song, and I looked at it the next morning, and I thought, nah, you better just let it go. Because there's nothing worse than somebody trying to be funny and cute, and there's nothing funny or cute about me. So I just said, let it go. Well, here comes the CMA Awards. And in case you don't really understand what that CMA means, I have it on good authority from Ray Price that means country my ass. And that's pretty much how it is, you know. But anyway, here comes the CMA Awards, and they have Beyonce on there. Well, I think Beyonce is one of the most talented ladies on the planet.
Just doesn't fit.
But she's got about as much business in country music as I do trying to fly an airplane. You know, it just you don't see them inviting George Strait. They didn't invite George Jones, you know, so I just said, So I put a few lines of that song out on the internet, on the web, and Next day, I had a lot of people wanting to buy downloads. And I was up in the big city of Cranfield's Gap, and I run into Matt Wallace, and we were sitting there talking about, he said, let's do a video. And I said, well, okay. So this is our latest single. Steve Pelusic produced it. It's called Hello, Nashville. Hello, Nashville. Texas music's on the line. Calling to see if you have lost your ever-loving mind. That music y'all call country, pardon us, it is not. Y'all confused country music with the rock and roll and pop. Now don't get me wrong, we love a rock and roll like ZZ and Stevie Ray. They didn't masquerade as country in the rock and roll they made. Maybe y'all have forgotten why Willie came back home. Said he did not fit the mold. His music was all wrong. So hello, my Nashville brothers and my sisters in rhyme. Y'all come on down to Texas, cleanse your musical mind. We'll go to Larry Joe Taylor's picnic, hear what music's all about. From the stage to the campfire picking, gonna quickly figure out that your cookie cutter music, it ain't nothing but lame. It's the same old, knew somebody's name. Now here's the little verse I wrote for our Nashvillean, Mr. Blake Shelton. I did a show over at Johnny's last fall. I opened for Warner. When it was over with, Warner saw me backstage. He said, did you really write that on purpose? I said, I certainly did. I said, I hope it burns him every time he hears it. That's what you get for being rude. Well, I hear tale of one Nashvillean ragging old stars of yesterday. He said something about jackasses and getting out of the way. We respect those old troubadours that paved the way for us, 'cause there's a little bit more to it than just smoking on the bus. And you can call our music country, red dirt, or anything. When you hear it on the radio, it won't all sound the same. Like a Nashville playlist, brainwashed in the public ear. Y'all come on down to Texas, listen to the radio down here. Y'all come on down to Texas, listen to the radio down here. There it is. That's country gospel.
I bet, yeah, right. I bet you also heard Dale Watson's thing about it.
Yeah,
it just hits the point. And actually, beside this show, I have a 2-hour weekly show on Country Radio Switzerland, and one of my kind of teasers for the other DJs is, I'm glad I don't have to play that stuff from up there. I concentrate on Texas. That's all I do. So glad to have it. And there is a lot of truth in the song you just
well, it wasn't that hard even for somebody like me to write it.
I guess
pretty simple.
If you believe in it. Absolutely. What inspires you to write a song? Is it real life experience, like you just said before, or is it something you hear, or
something
what else?
you see, something you hear, or sometimes you just be playing along and it just kind of happens. It just. I'm not like a lot of really. I don't consider myself a good songwriter. I just write songs for me. Those guys can sit down in a room and knock one out, and I mean it's great. They're just really talented at that. And I started writing songs because when you first go in this business, all you're going to get's the dregs. I mean, the publisher is not going to let you have this something that somebody's going to sell 2 million copies of. Yep. And so I've kind of figured that out. So I started writing them, And as far as what you see, there was a songwriter from down at China Spring, Rock Creek, Texas, named Ricky Cardwell. Mm-hmm. And Ricky was a dear friend of mine. He had written several songs for Jerry Jeff Walker and Gary P. Nunn. And Ricky was wilder than a peach orchard boar. I mean, if it could be any trouble involved in it, he gonna be in it, you know. But he was one of those guys you just couldn't keep from liking him, and he helped me a lot. So he says, "Look," said, "we're going to the Kerrville Folk Festival." I said, "Okay." So we go down there. I didn't know what was going on. Well, Rod Kennedy puts this thing on every year, and it lasts for like 10 days, and they'll have a big act there every night, you know. And after the show, they all go out in the parking lot and campfire and play and one thing or another. Well, I was still rodeoing in those days, and two of my hauling partners were with me, and we were cleaned up and dressed up. And this lady come by from New York, and she had a blue fiddle. I'll never forget the blue fiddle. It was the ugliest thing I ever saw. But anyway, she kind of started making fun of us because, you know, everybody else, there's still a lot of hippies in them days, and we were far from, nothing against a hippie. If you're a hippie, more power to you. I ain't got no problem with it. But my mother had a rule that if you were going somewhere, when you rolled across that cattle guard, you were cleaned up. Mm-hmm. And she didn't want you, you know, I mean, tattoos and earrings were unheard of words in my mama's house. That's how it was, you know. So anyway, my mother would have been proud. We never made an obscene gesture or a sneer at that lady. And she finally went on, and we have always drank Coors beer because they supported the rodeo. Mm-hmm. Still do. And so we bought it in 24 can, packed like this, and it have a beer flatter. And that woman aggravated me so bad about that, I sat down and wrote the first song. And I wrote it on the back of that Coors beer flask.
All right, let's get to that.
Some people think they know about Texas. They're not really smart as they think they are. They've maybe been down the road. There's a lot they'll never know. They missed too many nights down at the bar. They never ate that dust in Amarillo. Been to Cherry Springs on Saturday night. Spent a wooden nickel in the Buckhorn. Been to Dallas in the early morning. Spent the day getting over last night. For 150 years, there's been Texas. Shed cowboys right from the start. We fly that Lone Star in Austin. Fought wars and never lost them. Texas, deep in my heart. And I played Willie Nelson's picnic on the 4th of July. I've been to Cowtown on a Saturday night. Talking apple pie and babies. Sweet Texas lady, texted to let your Lone Star fly. Well, every now and then we have to travel. I'll be gone from Texas for some time. Well, I don't mind the visit. Texas, how I miss it. I can't wait to get back across that line. And our limo is a double cab dually. Our driver really doing great. He's good at his driving, best on arriving back in that Lone Star State. I'm talking Texas, Texas. Let your Lone Star fly. That was for the lady in New York.
That's what I like about if it flows automatically. You actually took the next question, put it in your first song, because that would have been, what was your first song? Can you remember?
Yeah.
So that's good. Now, you were and always will be a traditional country guy. Would you have more fame and fortune by adapting to mainstream sound, or, you know, more airplay, major market stations?
You know, you are what you are.
Absolutely.
I have never stuck my finger up in the wind to see which way the musical thing was going. And this has just damn near caused divorce with me and my wife. We'll be going somewhere, and she wants to listen to the radio. And I don't ever listen to the radio because when we're driving is when I have time to think, you know, and do like that. And she says I look like her grandmother. I'll be sitting over there going, and I'm trying to think. She got the radio playing, but I've got friends that sure enough, big time music business, and I don't know that they're any happier than I am.
Right.
And up until for the last 4 or 5 years, we've always had 2 tour buses, one for the band and one for me and Jesse. And we have a 18-wheeler that makes a stage, and so we have to go early with that. And then it got to the point that the guys in the band are just all hired guns, like Steve Pelusic right over here, and the fiddle players in Dallas, ones in Fort, and they're scattered. You say bus call, and it might be one guy riding it, so we just give that up. And finally, we got rid of the other one. And I always wondered what Red Steagall meant. We were playing the Speakers Day at the Irwin Center in Austin one year, and I'd just gotten a bus. Oh, I was so happy I didn't even touch the ground. And he said, well, that's the second happiest day of your life. And I said, well, good. I said, well, what's going to be the happiest? He said, when you get rid of it. And I said, you've lost your mind. Anyway, but I had a bus for, I think, 33 years. And biggest mistake I made was not recording and writing everything down there happened on it. I could blackmail some people.
A lot of books.
Anyway, a friend of mine asked me the other day, he kept telling me, he said, you shouldn't sell that bus. He said, you miss that bus? And I said, yeah. I knew you would. I said, yeah. He said, what do you miss the most? And I said, well, let me think. I said, it's one of 3 things, but I really miss it. He said, what is it? I said, paying the driver, buying the fuel, or buying the tires. But one of them I'm plenty upset, But there's a time and place, when we were traveling all the time, you had to have a bus.
Right.
I mean, we'd leave on Thursday. We wouldn't come back sometime to Monday.
The only way to
and
go.
The music business has changed so much. If you're not chasing a chart, you're pretty much better off doing acoustic shows.
Absolutely.
With you and a couple other guys, because I said about pollution, when you hire guys like that, they're going to be paid, and you can either pay them or you can go with a mediocre player, and then that's one thing Tom Brumley always told me. He said, never hire anybody in that band that's not better than you. And
makes a
of course, that wasn't real hard for me to do in the beginning.
Now, that guy's a visionary, because he kind of seamlessly, maybe you stole that damn document, because he kind of goes seamlessly into the next one, which actually was why traditional country music is losing more and more. George Strait just put out a new album. You don't hear that thing on the mainstream. You just don't.
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm just not that smart, but we did a listener appreciation show for a radio station here, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago up close to Fort Worth. And Jody Nix was on that show with me. And we were sitting there watching, we were sitting on the bus, and he just griping and whining about why there weren't more people there. And I think it was a free event. Well, it was kind of hot. And I said, well, Jody, you just don't have good vision. He said, oh, I see. I said, no, that ain't what I'm talking about. I said, look at the crowd out there. He said, well, I see them. I said, well, look at the women. I see them. I said, there ain't a woman out there that doesn't have gray hair. I said, you need to let that sink in. I said, these places that you play, I said, they still love your music. They love you. But I said, some of them have got hips replaced, they've got grandkids, they've got other things to do than come out on Saturday night and spend $100 drinking and dancing to your music. I said, doesn't mean they still don't love you. But I said, you're going to have to do like Willie did. You're going to have to move on with the time, No problem. And that's just how it is. I mean, when I go do an acoustic show, I'll do probably a third of my songs. I got back last Monday. We've been in Utah for nearly a week playing, and you can't take and cram a bunch of songs you've written down somebody's throat that they've never heard of. Yeah. They're going to, you can't have that many songs that get their attention. So you got to play some things in there that that people know, and a lot of musicians don't understand our job. Our job is to sell drinks and food and keep you there having a good time.
Right.
And I was invited down to one of Willie's daughter's wedding, and back in the old days, I had a cousin that played steel guitar, and he run around with Willie a little bit. I mean, this was eons ago. It was Bud Fletcher and the Texans. It was the name of Bobby's husband. But anyway, so we're down there at the wedding, and I mean, there's some real big people there. I'm just kind of like a knot on a log. And this girl that I went to high school with was ended up being Waylon's personal secretary. And she come over and got me. She said, "Matt, come back here. I want to talk to you." So I went back there, and it was Willie. And he won't know about Jimbo, won't know this and that. And we were getting ready to play his picnic. And he told me he said, "Now I want you to remember this." I said, "Okay, what is it?" He said, "Number one," said, "if you forget where you come from," said, "you're never going to know when you get to where you're going." I said, "Well, I certainly understand that." I said, "That's like having a dark windshield." So he said, "Yeah." But he said, "The other thing I want to tell you," he said, "there's a lot of great singers." He said, "There's some great songwriters and some great musicians." But he said, "If you remember anything, I'm telling you, remember this. There are very few entertainers, and that's what we get paid for." Yeah. And I've kind of stuck to that.
Was something Ray Price lived by, actually.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And that's one thing I always regretted. Ray was always nice to me when he'd see me, and I bet I wasn't around him 10 times my whole career, but he's always he was a class act.
Absolutely.
But I never did get a Christmas card, and I didn't get to go to the chicken fights with him. I wanted to go to that chicken fight really bad. Anyway,
Yeah, he was definitely class. I had a chance to interview him just a few months before he passed away when he played in Salado here.
Yeah.
And it was just absolutely amazing.
A friend of mine, Chip Bricker, went to Baylor and played with me a bunch, played with Ray for, right on up till he passed away. And then Pelusic played with him for, 7, 8 years, and it was great music. That's all it was to it.
All right, let's hit another one, I guess.
What do you want to hear? You want fast or slow? What do you want to hear?
Guys, up to you.
We'll do this the Democratic way. This lady, ma'am, you want a fast song or a slow song?
Oh, let's do a slow song.
A slow song, okay. All right, get the towel out, The band and I were in Alpine, Texas. We played there on a Saturday night. We were due in Uvalde the next afternoon. Phil Line and them were having a big team roping. We were going to play the thing, and we were all young and single. And well, there was a couple in the band that weren't single, but they told everybody they were. So anyway, we were late getting out of Alpine because we'd been, just talking to the young ladies there and trying to enjoy some of their culture, shall we say. Anyway, we're coming into Del Rio, and after you leave Lake Amistad, before you get Del Rio, there was an old bar there called the Saddle Bronc Bar. And we get in there, and John Nolan McMillan drove a bus for me for years, and he kind of got a bad curve there, and he kind of woke me up. I was sitting up front with him. He said, "Look over there." And it was Saddle Bronc Bar. It's just good daylight, and there's a little red Mercedes sitting there, and right next to it was an old ranch truck. And there wasn't a place on that truck you could put your hand. There wasn't a cow dent. Well, the truck belonged to this long, tall cowboy that was giving a kiss to this lady in this little red Mercedes. And John Nolan said, There's song there somewhere. There's song there somewhere. And I said, well, I'll have to think about it, He was the first ever to lighten her heart. His rodeo life kept them apart. She knew she'd never be first in his life. Broken-hearted, she gave up, became a rich man's wife. A rich man can't give her love that she needs, with his eye on $1 and a heart full of greed. With tears in her eyes at dawn's early light, she thinks of Del Rio and a Saturday night. Later that evening, with the sun sinking low, she thinks of a cowboy, some old rodeo. His call is her spirit. He's on an evening flight. There'll be stars in Del Rio on Saturday night. She drives to Del Rio in her Mercedes car. She meets him at sundown, Saddle Bronc Bar. And he holds her so gentle, her eyes shining bright like the stars in Del Rio on a Saturday night. This time she don't go back. She's not going home. Left the rich man and the money in old San Antone. Money is nothing. What love is to life, like the stars in Del Rio on Saturday night. Like the stars in Del Rio on a Saturday night. There's your slow song, man.
Yeah, you can see they pay attention. They don't fade away these days. So this guy actually had more jobs than I have shirts in my closet. It's crazy. I mean, rodeo cowboy, railroad engineer, teacher, farmer.
Yeah, I was a pretty poor teacher. I'm just telling you right now. They were probably glad when I quit.
Songwriter, of course, as well. But is there anything you wish you would have done in your life that you haven't, in terms of a job or in terms of a profession? Or?
Yes, there is. I wish I had learned to ride saddle bronc horses. I think that's where I've been up into Utah. We went to a bucking horse fraternity, and it's just timeless. I have friends that were really good at it, and it's just a timeless event. And to me, it was just really cool, and I liked that. But I have no gripes in life. You're not supposed to have just the way you want it, you know. I still get aggravated. I tell my wife all the time when I hear a train come by, I say, there goes my job, you know. And I had a great job on the Union Pacific, and they bought out another railroad, and it ruined my seniority. Mm-hmm. And they offered us a good package to quit, and I told them, I said, just pay me before you change your mind, you know. But I still go to the reunions that all the guys I worked with. But yeah, I missed that railroad.
Probably everything happened for a reason. So
well, hey, you know, there's somebody bigger than us that's got the plan, you know.
All right. Now, you had your own festival, the Mason County Country Music Festival.
Yeah, we did that a couple of years down there. Yeah.
Is that still going on? Or if not, why did you stop it?
Well, every time we went, it got rained out. And I don't mean just partially rained out. I mean they'd have a storm, really blew all the transformers in town. And
like Larry Chose.
Now the farmers and the ranchers wanted us to keep doing it because we would bring rain, you know. But we would bring rain. But my wife and I have put on several outdoor events, and at first it's exciting. You know, it's kind of a challenge. Can I get this done? You know, But I'm telling you, after a while, it just gets down to pure work.
Yeah, it is.
And playing this guitar, sitting on this stool, a whole lot easier than worrying about how many porta potties are somewhere.
Yeah, true. And how they get empty every now and then.
Yeah. Or the most sickening thing is when it's over, thinking, well, I guess we'll go to the bank in the morning and see if we can get the money to pay this deal off, you know. We've been there on that, too, yeah. It's not always great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So... yeah, I think we'll play another one, I guess.
Okay.
What do you think?
This lady right here. You want fast song or slow song, ma'am? Fast song, okay. Well, I only know about 4 songs, so I'm going to mix them up. Friend of mine's a disc jockey over at the Ranch Radio in Corsicana. His name's Kerry Dean. He introduces himself as, hi, I'm Kerry Dean, 106.9 The Ranch, Corsicana. That's that's the way he talks. Well, he's one of these guys that is so quick-witted that I've done his radio show a couple of times, but I get plenty nervous to do it because he's so quick-witted. I mean, you can end up looking like a gunsel pretty quick, So he sends me this song. He says, I got you a song here. I said, okay, what is it? He's The Wrong Way Right. And I said, well, is there some more to it? No, Wrong Way Right. I said, well, somehow that just doesn't conjure up a picture in my mind. Maybe a drunk going down one-way street the wrong way or something. That's about no song material. Anyway, he kept on. He called, and I finally just got embarrassed about him calling. And I told Jesse, I said, I'm going to finish this thing today. Well, I paved the highway to hell, good intentions, trying to cover up mistakes I have made. Never made any deal with the devil of going to hell, I'm much afraid. But I think life should be lived like a party, wide open till God turns out the light. Spent my lifetime trying to figure out the wrong way to live right. I'm the poster child for bad habit, hardcore drinking. Been stoned to the point I couldn't blink. If you think I need to change my way of living, you need to change the way that you think. 'Cause the world ain't level, life's not fair. Jesus was no hippie, but he had long hair. Losers would be winners if they'd ever won, and winners are the losers that figured out how life is done. So love and live every day like it's your last. Walk away from the trouble in your past. Keep mama's Bible on the dash and a beer in your hand, and you can live a wrong way right. Talk is cheap, but it takes money to buy whiskey. Don't believe everything someone might say. Never judge a book by a cover. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Don't let your karma run over your dogma. What goes around comes around is true. Never take yourself too serious. Sometimes the joke is on you. Treasure your friends every day. Love your baby every night. When your final party is over, I hope you live the wrong way right. 'Cause the world ain't level, life's not fair. Jesus was no hippie, but he had long hair. Losers would be winners if they'd ever won, and winners are the losers. Figured out how life is done, so love and live every day like it's your last. Walk away from the trouble in your past. Keep mama's Bible on the dash and a beer in your hand, and you can live a wrong way right. Keep mama's Bible on the dash and a beer in your hand, and you can live a wrong way right. That's all you want. There's your fast song, man.
Goes to prove that 3 words can make a song, right?
Right, yeah. 3 words.
You got a lot of stories. Have you ever thought of doing more, or on top of everything, like cowboy poetry, like Waddy Mitchell and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I have thought about it, but I just never did manage to put it together all that well. I think you can get too many irons in the fire sometimes, But when I was rodeoing, I was just a kid from Bosqueville, Texas. We had a feed store, 3 gas stations, 2 churches, and a school. And the school had only went to the 6th grade, and we had 5 teachers for 6th grades. Yep. And I had 2 uncles that were cowboys, and that's all I wanted to be. and I had worn every kid in the neighborhood out jerking on a bucking barrel. Well, here comes my cousin. He's about a few years older than me, and he had a car. And that was my ticket out of Bosqueville. And we would tell my mother we were going riding on Sunday afternoon. We didn't say what we was riding. Anyway, we'd go across the river over to what they call the county line. And Pat Parks had a beer joint and a rodeo arena there. And if you had $1, you could drink beer. If you had 5, you could be in the bull riding. And a couple of, sure enough, big-time cowboys kind of picked me up, and that's kind of, how we got to going. But I didn't really let them know I'd write anything because, cowboy, he not, he don't write no poem, you a sissy. What's wrong with you, boy? Anyway, so I got to meet a couple of guys like the Jim Shoulders and Jim Bob Altizer that had been my heroes when I was a kid. And I don't know, one day I just got to think about it, and so I wrote this. This is how a cowboy looks at life. It's pretty cut and dried the way we look at it. Anyway, so it says, he wore an old black hat and a pair of run-over boots, and you could see the Hagen ring on his Wranglers when he climbed up on the chutes. He had steel blue eyes, and his face was leather tan, and you could say you'd seen a real cowboy when you looked at that old hand. He climbed down off that gate, and he sat down behind the chutes and strapped a pair of Blackwoods on them old run-over boots. And this kid walked up to him and introduced himself and said he'd drawn one bad to fight the gate and would be obliged for some help. The old hand just nodded, and he said, I'll help you do your best. He said, I've been down that road before, kid, along with all the rest. But he said, I noticed you staring at me through the corner of my eye, and said, you don't understand how this old hand can twist 'em and still get by. I know. You've seen 'em on the covers of them magazines and on them TV shows. Now you gonna be a twister, ride the big-time rodeo. Well, you gather up, partner, so you can plainly hear. Talk's cheap, but when I speak, it's not the wind blowing through your ears. You see, I came up the long way through the school of hard knocks, and what improved my riding was my deciding I couldn't eat them rocks. Said I've been throwed off so many times that I thought I was part of the ground. But I kept on trying, and I kept on trying till I could keep the forked end down. Now I've been to more than just a county fair, and I have fanned a few good broncs. But in blood and pain, I learned this game, but I wasn't riding a stool in a local honky-tonk. Now, I don't know where you come from, and it don't matter to me what you've rode. But if you're going to be one of us, you need to learn to live by the cowboy code. Don't bitch about the draw. Get on. Do the best you can. There's good draws and bad draws for every rodeo hand. And you be easy on the stock. They got feelings too, 'cause it's bulls, broncs, calves, and steers that make a living for fools like me and you. And always do your best in anything you do. Let your handshake be your bond, but let your word be true. And never rest on the laurels of anything you've done. And a cowboy will never stand any taller than when he stoops to help someone. But love it and live it, cowboy, while you can, 'cause there ain't no better life than that rodeo hand. But you remember what I tell you about this rodeo game, 'cause she'll love you and leave you like a fickle old dame. So, well, you'll win a few and lose a few. Some will be a draw. But you always remember, nod your head for 'em all.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's that far I go,
Not only could I not even remember half of these words, but this was in the true style of Waddy Mitchell and all these greats. So, yeah, you could do it, definitely.
Well, I'll have to check with my handler.
Second career, so
Yeah, there you go.
or parallel career.
You never know.
Because
you
we
know.
used to have Waddy Mitchell and Don Edwards over in
Oh,
Europe a couple times, and they kind of interchanged between
Yeah.
songs and then Waddy and then
That Don
again.
Edwards is really talented. We did a show with him up at Hyco a few years ago.
That was really cool. I'm not sure if Waddy's still around doing it.
I have no idea. I'm not in
heard
that
from him
circle.
in
I don't
years.
know.
I mean, I know Don is, but never heard of Waddy again. And I think he had some beautiful poems, short ones and long ones. And you obviously have talent for that. Did you write that?
Yeah.
Holy cow. That was pretty cool. All right, let's play another one to kind
Okay.
of...
Who's my mother-in-law's next? You want a fast song or a slow song? Fast.
Fast again.
Okay. I wrote this with Steve Dansby. We lived pretty close to the Brazos River. On the east side of the Brazos River, you go about 8 miles, you'll get the city of West.
Mm-hmm.
And as they say, Vest, they don't say W. And I've got a lot of Czech friends over there. And when you first come into their circle now, you got to really listen when they talk, because they don't talk just like we do. They'll say, let's go to Vest already yet. No, maybe drink some peavy. You know, something like that. Or they'll say, let's throw the cow over some fence, some hay, maybe not. Are we feeding this cow, or are we not? You know, I don't know. But anyway, there's a little place right this side there called Tokyo, and it's been there 100 years. Steve Dansby, this friend of mine, leased it and started putting it. He called me over one day, and he said, "Hey," he said, "why don't you come over here and play? So I got to get the thing going here." I said, "I'd be glad to." Well, Mary plays me this song. Now then, I have a handler. When I write something, I can say, "What do you think?" You know, and she'll keep me out of the fire. But now, like if you and I were writing together, and I give you this line, and you don't like it, and you'll say, "No, that's,"
right.
and you know, it just people don't think that way, you know. So, well, the worst thing I can do with fellow songwriter is lie. Anyway, it's just like when the handler asks, "Do I look fat in this?" "No, darling, you look like a beauty queen, to number 11." You know? So he plays this song. He said, "What do you think?" And I said, I like the beat of it and everything. He said, "Yeah, there's a but in here." I said, "Yeah, there is." I said, "Your song sucks." And he said, "Well, why?" And I said, "Well, the whole idea of your song is this man has found out that this other man is going with this man's girl."
Right.
And I said, "You've got that man crying." I said, "All the cowboys I know, there would be no crying."
No fun.
I said, "There'll be a fist fight, but there won't be any crying." And he said, "Well, I never thought of it like that." He said, "Well, if that's the way you feel about it, just write it the way you want to and give me my half." I said, "Okay, I will." Well, I stayed up way too late last night, and I know I am a sight. Man, she kept me up till 3:30. Doorbell woke me and I stumbled around. I put on the first clothes I found. Here I am. You think it's funny? Wait and see. Don't laugh at my shirt. It belongs to your girlfriend. I found it on my floor again. She dropped it there last night. Don't laugh at my shirt. Her pink one I'm wearing. Now that you know we're sharing, who's laughing now? Now don't go getting twisted up. This ain't so easy for me. In more ways than one, I'm in a bind. Easy now, you're frustrated. I'm the one being violated. Her thong is cutting me like fishing line. So don't laugh at my shirt. It belongs to your girlfriend. I found it on my floor again. She dropped it there last night. Don't laugh at my shirt. Her pink one I'm wearing. Now that you know we're sharing, who's laughing now? Now that you know we're sharing, who's laughing now? Thank you, Steve Dansby.
That's how the ideas come. Now, you were part of the opening concert when Willie supported Carl's Corner up on I-35.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we were basically traveling by that venue every now and then suddenly it was gone. Mm-hmm. And I think Willie had like an 800-people theater out there. So what the hell happened?
Well, I don't know. I'm not really privy to all his business. I've noticed this before in establishments where we've played a startup deal. People aren't going to drive a long way to drink and party and then have to get on the highway. Mm-hmm. And that's about all I really know about that. He had a nice theater in there. We took the stage trailer up there and we played outside. And him and the boys came and played on the stage. And then he said he had him and Haggard and I think Price was there. Mm-hmm. And he said, y'all come in the theater and play between us. And I wish that every musician that had ever played for me could have been with me that day when Haggard played. We were sitting backstage. I was sitting on a road case. Jesse's sitting right there. I wasn't from here to that lady from Joe Manuel sitting there playing. And that band was so quiet they could actually talk to one another, you know. And how many times, I know you've seen this, one wants to be loud, he'd turn up, the other one turns up, and before long, the drummer's beating the skins off of them, and it's so loud, it's just a roar. But I was so impressed with Merle Haggard's band. They were just great. You know, they were just absolutely great. But
yeah, they probably should have built a hotel or motel nearby. So.
Well, I don't know, something. You know.
Now, way back, you wrote a song called "Don't Tax My Beer." Mm-hmm. That was for the wholesale beer distributors when the state of Texas wanted to raise the taxes on the beer again, and it worked. That's
it worked.
The fun part.
It sure did.
The message of this song even made it into the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, well,
which is pretty
blind
impressive.
hog finds an acorn every now and then. You know, I was stumbling along in Austin, and I'd been over to Willie had bought the Austin Opry House and put his nephew in there running Arlen Studios, and I was in there doing some demos. And somehow this fella heard me and saw me, and name was Cowboy Hines, and Cowboy took a liking to me, and his wife was she was the right hand for the Speaker of the House back when Gib Lewis was Speaker, and she called me one day and said, "There's a lobbyist wants to take you to lunch." Well, I did get out of graduate school, but I was not very well versed in politics, and so we go down on 6th Street, and is Mr. Mike Hopkins, and he pulls this paper out of his pocket, and he says, "I want you to write me a song, and I want these points in that song." And so I said, "Well, what is the deal?" He said, "Well, they're trying to put more tax on beer," and so that's how it was, and. It just, like I say, you never know where a deal comes from. We did that, and next thing I know, we're playing at the Coliseum in Anaheim, California. Mm-hmm. And we played New Orleans, and we played Indianapolis. We played a lot of places
pretty
for
good
that,
deal. Yeah. Who wants to hear some Western Swing number?
Well, the times are tough. Prices are way too high. It's all the working man can do to live and just get by. Still got bills to pay after my check is spent. Now the one that wants more for the beer, my own government. I make blue-collar dollars. I pay my taxes here. Can't you see I don't need more tax on my beer? When we cut that thing, Gimbal wanted to make that Sweet Georgia Brown. He gonna go. It's been a while since old Hank had a 6-pack to go. Now when it comes to buying beer, there's a few things he ought to know. Gonna have to dig a little deeper when he lays down the cash. The fact remains you're gonna need more change just to pay the tax. Eagle flies on Friday, it's time to relax. more, drinking less, just to pay the tax. I make blue-collar dollars, I pay my taxes here. Can't you see, I don't need more tax on my beer.
Nobody knows.
That's it.
All right, now, you and your handler built a semi-rig that is actually also a stage. Unbelievable. I've seen a couple pictures of that thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That,
how the hell did you get to that idea? It's just being tired of...
No, when we were in Europe, I sent 2 sound systems back to Ray Hennig's in Austin. Because every time you turn around, you get wet, you know. Not a downpour, just wet, you know. And the fellow I was with that took me on that tour was named Tyrone Malone, and he was a spokesman for Michelin and Bandag, for the tire bunch. And he had just fabulous chrome trucks that he'd set Worldland speed records with them at Bonneville. I mean, he was a real deal. And he told me, he said, you need to build you a stage when we get home. And Jesse and I he lived in Visalia, California. And we went out there a couple of times working on some plans. And before we got very far with it, he got killed in a car wreck. And I just kind of give it up. And then one day she came to me and she said, you're not going to be happy till we do that stage. And so we were in Nashville. And so we went home and I told her, don't worry, baby. 6 months, we'll have this baby knocked out. And it was me and her. And one of my best friends, Kenny Zink, played guitar for me for a long time. Our daughter, Kaylee, was just a little twerp. She hadn't even learned to ride a bicycle yet. And for 3 years, we lived on my tour bus in the back of a transmission shop in Waco. And
building that thing.
Those were the hard times, everybody. If I didn't go sell or trade something, it was beanie weenie all week. And then it took 3 more years. My buddy got married, and his wife felt like he didn't belong in that. And we finished it. And I still go do the first job we ever had. I go to Killeen, and I do a deal for, I think it's an Abundant Life Church or something like that. And it's just really poor part of town, and little old kids there, you know, just, you know what I'm talking about. And somebody asked, said, well, it doesn't pay that much, does it? And I said, no, but I said, I ain't about not to do it. And they said, why? I said, I'm afraid the Lord strike me dead for things I've done. So, but yeah, it's been, we've had that trailer on the road 19 years.
And you also rent it out, right?
Well, we lease it out.
Yeah, lease it out, basically.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go in a couple of weeks. We're going to Cleburne to do, who are we doing up there, Jesse?
Roger Krieger.
Yeah, Roger Krieger and somebody else. I don't know.
I can't remember.
Anyway,
Not the one for the list, Richard, by the way, Roger.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in a while, but, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we're looking forward to that because it should
so
be.
do you let actually, when you say you rent it out, means you drive it to the venue, right?
Yeah.
You don't let
We have
other
a
people
crew.
drive that thing.
Oh, yeah, we have a crew. And
Cody Canada's the other one. We're
Okay.
doing.
Yeah, and I don't run it anymore. I used to, but it was always a train wreck because somebody'd tell me something, you know, a date or something, and I'd fool around, not tell her or something. So I just said, wash my hands of it. Need somebody that knows what they're doing to run it. So
They just tell you. in the
when we're
morning
there,
what
I'm
to do.
just kind of like a hired hand. That's
Right.
all I do. I do what I'm told, and that works
That
better.
actually keeps the peace in the family,
It,
too.
yes,
Absolutely.
it certainly does. Yeah, took me a long time to learn that, but
Yep.
you know.
Same
But
here.
I tell you, I learned something from old cowboys that I knew, that how to have a really successful marriage is every morning when she wakes up, you look over at her and tell her, "Honey, you a lucky woman." And that'll be the key to success right there.
He also brings a cup of coffee along with that.
Right. Got to add to it over the years, yeah, absolutely. All right, let's play another one before we get to the last question, and then
Okay.
figure it out.
Whose time is it? That lady back there. You want fast song or slow song, darling?
Slow song.
Slow song, okay. I would like to say I wrote this song. I had something to do with it, but my wife gets all the credit for it. And she doesn't write a lot of songs, but kind of scared me when she gave me this one. When you hear the title of it, I thought, is she trying to tell me something or something, you know? This won't be... No. I'm not going to do that. When a heart falls out of love, there is nothing you can do. Do not blame yourself. I'm not blaming you. Don't fight the way you feel. It's for the best, no doubt. I did not see this coming. I've got the picture now. I did not see this coming. I missed all the warning signs. Once a heart stops loving, there's no changing its mind. Whatever difference it would make makes no difference anyhow. Two's a pair and three's a crowd. I've got the picture now. We could try to start it over, but what good would it do? We've lost the magic that made me and you. Love's only love when love is shared. I let the home fires burn out. I did not see this coming, but I've got the picture now. I did not see this coming. I missed all the warning signs. Once a heart stops loving, there's no changing its mind. Whatever difference it would make makes no difference anyhow. Two's a pair and three's a crowd. I've got the picture now. Two's a pair and three's a crowd. I've got the picture now. Now, spooks you when your wife gives you that song, you know.
Yeah, that's the other question. Who do you run songs by to test if they work out? Do you check with Jessie? And what if you think it's a really cool song and she thinks, no, you can't do that?
I generally listen. It's taken me a long time. I'd written this blues song and I wanted to play it. She said, said, you don't know it. You'll forget it. And, after you put your foot in your mouth for a while, it doesn't taste good. So you just start listening is what I do.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. No, I have a couple guys that I play with, but you have to be careful asking for opinions.
You might get it.
Well, and I'm not the kind that, if I want you to tell me something, I'll just say, tell me this so I'll feel better. It's not a deal like that, but you have to get to the point in your career that you can make a decision about what's good and what sucks. That's just how it is, And so, every now and then I'll get carried away with something, but I usually get reined back in. And so,
All right. Okay. So, last question before we come to the final song is, what question would you ask yourself in an interview that I did not?
Well, I don't know. I think you've pretty well covered everything. I think it's been a great interview. It gives you an insight onto what I do, what we've been doing, and how we got from point A to point B. I think the best thing I can say is thank you. And
Thank you, absolutely.
for what you do for Texas music and country music. Well, we appreciate that. It's not any and everybody that wants to give their time and effort for something like that.
Right.
But
we like what we're doing, and we appreciate people like you who stay to the roots. So
thank you. And,
absolutely.
And give Troy Shaw a big hand for doing what we did here. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Jesse, is there anything you wanted to ask Mack that you always wanted to ask but never dared?
Oh, no. I'm pretty sure that ship has sailed. We've got everything that we could cover. So we've been married, we'll have been married 29 years. 29
Youngsters.
years and August.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew each other for 29 days whenever we got married.
Whoa,
And,
all right.
Yeah,
Wow.
Kenny's that guy that helped build the stage trailer, Kenny Sink and I. We'd put on a 4th of July show in Clifton, Texas, and we thought we'd never be poor again. We thought
Wow.
we were there, but anyway, there was a John Deere dealership there that had been sold. Well, I knew the man that owned the property, and he said, "I wish y'all would stay here." Said, "I've got insurance on this building if you're in it." So we rented it for a little of nothing. We cleaned out the offices and made bedrooms, and then we keep the bus there, and of course, we put paper over the windows. The people in Clifton thought we were the cartel or something. They drive by and look, Well, Kenny and I were single, and it didn't take us long to run through the girls in Clifton. So we went to Waco, and I had just got some records on the chart, and there was a bar there called Mother Red's Lounge. And Mother Red was probably 75 years old, had flaming red hair and red lipstick, knew everybody. And when you went there, you're going to have a good time, So anyway, Kenny and I went in there one night. Then we were just sitting there drinking beer with Mother Red. And so I see this girl walk by. And I remember the peach blue jeans she had on. And I said, "Who's that, Mother Red?" She said, "I don't know. I didn't think no more about it." Well, we're sitting there drinking beer, and here comes Mother Red. She's got these little blue jeans in tow. And she says, "Honey," said, "this is Mack Abernathy." And she knocked all the wind out of my cowboy sails. She just looked at me and said, "So?" And, but my cowboy charm overcame that. 29 days later, we went to the Justice. I stopped a rehearsal. We were having a rehearsal, and we went over to the JP and got married. And yeah.
Yeah, that's easy when you got Justice of the Peace close by. That's always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I tell everybody that just because we've been married for 29 years doesn't mean we talk to each other. Because, so, I don't know how it is in your marriage, but it's like somebody says, "Well, did you know such and such?" Well, Mack told me. I had no idea,
No, as we said before, I mean, we're on year 39 now, so but we actually tested 7 years, and then we thought, oh, hell, the bad 7 years are over, so it can only get better. Big mistake. But, we're still hanging in. Pretty good. Yeah, wait till we get home. Oh, holy cow.
We'll talk about this later.
The best way to calm her down now is do the final song here.
Okay. Let's see here.
I don't know, I see y'all drinking pretty good on Facebook.
We do. We celebrate the stupid stuff so it gets more opportunities.
This song here is called Pocket Rocket Ranger. I was raised in a family that had trucks and they hauled cattle for a living. And I lost my dad at a pretty early age. In fact, I had my stepfather long and I had my own dad. But anyway, he was really a good truck driver, and they hauled from right up the road here at Chilton. And he just one of these easygoing kind of guys. And this time of the year, when all the oat calves come off in Falls in McLennan County, they ship them out. Some of them go to Blythe or Needles, California. The rest of them go to Panhandle. Some of them go to Kansas. Well, they could just drive and drive and drive. And one day, a driver, which we call kind of a cowboy driver, kind of jicky, wasn't a bit, probably just bought that hat. And he asked my mother, said, I want to ask you something. She said, what? She said, they called my stepfather Shotgun. He said, well, Shotgun always one of the last ones to load, but he's the first one to get there. He said, what kind of drugs is he on? My mother said, well, he's not on any. Well, how's he do it? She said, when you're over in that cafe at that truck stop flirting with them cowgirls, said he's got the left door closed and he's going on where he's going, you know. So anyway, but later in life, I knew a bunch of those guys that would probably, step across the line just a little bit on some of the things they would do. But anyway, I wrote this song, and the first record we ever had out was the Floyd Tillman Slipping Around. And I had two ladies promoting it. Debbie Green from San Antonio was promoting it. And I was dumber than a 3-day-old rock, you know. She said, now, look, here's the way the deal goes. She said, you go to that radio station, I've made you an appointment. You don't talk about anything except that song. I said, okay, I got the picture. So we go to Shreveport, Louisiana, the Larry Scott all-night trucking show at KWKH. And we go and we do it, you know, and one thing after another. I didn't say a word about anything except slipping around, you know. Well, the next day I got a phone call from her, and she was madder than a wet hen. She said, I told you not to be. I said, I didn't do anything. She said, Larry Scott just called me and said that phone was lighting up for Pocket Rocket Ranger. And I said, well, I don't know, but I'll call him. She was busy, you know. She's got roto calls to do, you know, so I called over, and he said, yeah. I said, I was going to tell you. He said, when you left, said, I flipped that record over and said, you know, this is the all-night trucking show. And said, those bull haulers went crazy about it, you know. So anyway, I got out of Dutch with her, and anyway, but this is the sort of the anthem for the cow truckers.
Bill Carter
Well, he's a beach bum cowboy, about half hip, hauling them breakers out southern Mississippi on a long-nosed Pete and made of lights and chrome. Big old Cummins keeps him rolling along. He got 13 gears, uses them all. He's hauling them fats out of Omaha. Tomorrow evening when the sun goes down, it's 28th Street in Old Cowtown. He'll be at Billy Bob's for the evening show. Then he fires that mother up and gets it back on the road. He is a pocket rocket ranger from the Lone Star State, hauling them load place to place. Sam and a Jake rattle windows wherever they go, just to wake the ladies up and let them know. To get it and gear and get everything right, Pocket Rocket Ranger's rolling in tonight. Now normally this is where Kenny Zink would knock it out, but he ain't here today, so we're not gonna have it. He got Jimmy Buffett playing on the radio, a jug of coffee and a roll of skull. He tries to fly to California like patting for a dance, hangs out in Nogales just to give him a chance. Catch up on his log, maybe get some rest, but he border town a lady to the cowboy test. One tequila sunrise and a bloody to go. He'll fire old Pete up for that I-10 show. He is a Pocket Rocket Ranger from the Lone Star State, hauling him low place to place. Sam and a Jake rattle windows wherever they go, just to wake the ladies up and let them know. To get it and geared and get everything right, Pocket Rocket Ranger's rolling in tonight. Pocket Rocket Ranger's rolling in tonight.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. We certainly do appreciate it.
Really cool. I like that. That was great.
Well, good.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all for being here.